Alexander, could you please explain to us what does it mean to accept the past and the present? Well, when I'm talking about the past, we can't feel entitled about it, we can't hold grudges, we can't be resentful, and we can't regret about the past. If this does not apply to us, this means that the energies that are left behind, we want to take these energies, but these energies have turned into low frequency energies. They're not allowing us to enter the future, and they're not being actualized because they've already turned into the past. And this puts us into a vicious cycle. Remember the technique I suggested. When we don't feel good, that means that the past isn't allowing us to enter the future, but when the past has no power over us, we leap headfirst into the future. We're enthusiastic, there's fire in our eyes, we are fervorous. And when we're not ready to accept the future, we're held back by our past, we send the negative to the ground. It's not negative energy, but it's the future that has taken hold, and we feel like it's negative. We ground it, so to say, into the foundation, not into the 8th chakra, but to the ground. That's where we send the negative energy. And we reject the past, and we imagine that what is behind us is transparent and empty. And this allows us to allow the future to enter and loosens the past's grip on us. So the past continues to impact us, but to a lesser extent. If we want our past to have less of a grip over us, we need to let it go. How can one let it go? One can accept what has happened, the things I already mentioned, through creative thinking that allows us to release the grudges and the rejection of what we didn't get through the creative energy, through the interplay of the subsequent stages of our lives. For example, my mother, she was strict and she imposed a rigid discipline, and she had no love for us. The idea of her discipline was in her limiting us and interacting through negation. And sometimes she would get physical. When she was in a bad mood, she could beat us because she wasn't feeling right. And she would say that this is for us to sleep better. So this was unfair, and I felt like I took it easily until I got the idea in my head that perhaps, how would have things turned out had she loved us, had she embraced us, had she expressed her support for us, and had she spoken and thought constructively? And as a result of that, I experienced an emotional outburst. I felt a lump in my throat, there were tears in my eyes, and I felt like, oh, I feel so bad. But it was a release of the emotions, of the energies of my past, which made room for the future. People say, if you cry, you'll feel better. You let go of the past. You release the past. Let it go. When you think back to your past, and you feel like, we felt all right back then, but we think about it through negation or through the negative. We were abused, we weren't loved, we weren't embraced, there was no affection, she didn't give us any kind words. This is a decent attitude, but if we think about what would have happened had she done otherwise, then we feel a lump in our throat because we feel an actualization of the previous creative program, which activates all the subsequent positive programs and creates the conditions for the future to enter our lives easier without the burden of the past. What is the essence of our state if we look at the physical plane? It's the conception. Were our mother and her sexual partner in a state of love and emotional acceptance? And this shaped our energy for our entire lives. If the sex was great, if they enjoyed sex, if they loved the sex, if this was in mutual love and this was in unison, then the rest is secondary. But if we look at the next stage, the pregnancy, all of the laws that guided our mother's lives during pregnancy, they manifest themselves into the respective third of our lives. So, first trimester, our first third. Second trimester, second third. Third trimester, last third. And this gives us the laws that we will use when interacting with the world. It imprints into us a certain character. And the last thing that affects us is the first 3 years of our lives when we're born. The first year shapes the first third, the second year the second third, and the third year the last third of our lives. So the moment when our parents are flirting, the moment they have sex, and the moment they orgasm, and the moment the egg cell binds to the sperm, that is the foundation. This shapes us on a large scale, after which we see the shaping of our present and the shaping of our programs, karmas, and accomplishments. That's the pregnancy stage. And the last thing are the things that can shape us in the future, the first 3 years of child rearing. If you want a child to cancel out the mistakes made in pregnancy and conception during the first 3 years of their lives, you need to raise them in a spirit of accepting them as of a deity in the family. You must treat them with respect, you must treat them with love. And this will, if the children come to you for development, they will develop you, because they are here to help you grow. They're high-frequency beings, and we give birth to children to be more like them, to let them shape us. But many parents, they break their kids down. Why? To make the kids better and stronger, because if you transform and change a broken law, then you get many times more energy. But most people develop in a positive vector. They hold grudges against their mothers, they are angry at the conditions they were raised in, they hate the world, and they hate the things that resemble the laws and the situations that they have experienced, the situations they didn't like. But when they start accepting these laws and situations, they get a colossal amount of energy that is multiplied because of this accumulation, and that has a multifold effect. And my effect is clear for anyone to see. So, I was in a state. My mother's pregnancy, when she was raising my elder brother, and when she showed affection for him, he's 1 year older, this planted a lot of kindness in me. At this moment, she was still kind. But when I was born, I wasn't raised the way I should have been raised, but the pregnancy still had a very powerful effect. And there's accumulated a lack of love and the necessity to create love. If everything had gone smoothly, I would be a regular, mediocre, average Joe who would be happy with everything, and I'd be working either as a bus driver or in a checkout register in Walmart, or I'd have a regular job doing regular, mundane things. This would be in unison regarding her worldview, regarding her education and her level of intellect. My mother's level of intellect. And since she comes from a family of intellectuals, I could have only made a breakthrough through some really messed up stuff. And I was looking for love, I was looking for development, I was looking subconsciously for ways to solve my issues, and this had an effect. That is why we have to accept the past regardless, but we can process it by imagining ourselves within the past, within ourselves. No matter if we're in kindergarten or in a playground, or if we're in school, or we're out on a picnic with friends, or when last year we went out to eat with friends, we are within ourselves, we are within our bodies, within our situations. But since the past has a low frequency nature, we send high frequency vibrations of the present there, which changes the past and changes our present and our future. So if you want to radically change your lives, you have to accept your past, accept the present, and accept the future. But keep in mind, when you accept the present, you need to come to terms with the weather, with your environment, with the state we have, with our level of health, with the way we look, with what we have done and what we haven't done. Then when we accept what is going on here and now, we create the conditions for the acceptance of the new to manifest. So we neutralize these things, and when we get new things, and the novel is always about incongruence, that means we need to become more disciplined. That's why we say that the future is discipline and joy. enjoy because we have a positive vector. But here's what I want to say. Everyone believes we should strive for high-frequency vibrations. Everyone thinks high-frec is the way to go. But any high-frec vibe will turn into low-frec vibe tomorrow. So the third iPhone, the newest third iPhone, becomes old compared to the fourth, and the fourth compared to the fifth compared to the sixth, and so on. We understand that love, in reality, is temporary, it's fake. It's only a vector of our development to allow us to head towards the future. But what is more important? It's the acceptance, it's kindness, and it's a tendency to act. And here you've got to show your teeth. Here you've got to create this balance, because if we don't move on to the next level when we're in a state of love in time, we start to degenerate, we turn into vegetables. That is why we must reject the love we have and move on to the next level of love. And this is what I mean when I say discipline. This is about challenging yourself and improving yourself. And this is something you should do automatically. This is what it means to accept the future. Yes, when you want to accept the future, you need to accept your past, accept your present, and then you will start accepting yourself in the future. Of course, you can always imagine yourself in the past, imagine your sensation in the past, and you don't have to change or rewrite it or create new scenarios for the past. Just say that I am within myself, and you switch to the now. Here in the present, take 3 to 5 seconds to measure your feeling in the body. I'm here right now, and then you switch again. So when you don't think about anything, when you feel your body, you co-tune with your program. And then the next thing is, when you imagine having a car, imagine having a yacht, a job, you've made a lot of money, your personal life is going great, you have become aware. Take 2 or 3 seconds to experience this and then switch. So from the past, you will be kicked out from the past. In the present, you can be in a state of here and now for as much time as you want to do, but no longer than 10 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds is enough, and then you switch. Do this often though, and in the future you can destroy it if we think about it too much and it doesn't come true. That is why you should dream. Don't dream in images, dream in sensations when you are in the image. And if you quickly switch, you absorb this high-frequency future, and then it comes to life and you take it easily. To be ready to accept is to take things easily, and when you're not ready to accept, that's when you're insecure or when you're happy. Do I understand it correctly? To work with the future is to work not with an image, but to process the field that this image shapes. I'd rather say that it's about working with sensations, with the vibrations, the frequencies, the higher frequency vibrations. Again, emotions are low frequency and feelings are high frequency. That is why we can think back to the past, we can emotionate with the past, but we can feel the future. We feel it, but if we get too much of the future, we feel fear with our past that we haven't let go. And a panic attack means that we're getting too much of the future, we are highly sensitive, but when our actions are not efficient. The thing do, that's not something they have, and that's when you get panic attacks. Alexander, here's a question about wishes coming true. Some people believe that there's a time buffer zone from a week to 3 weeks between the moment you express your intent and the moment your wish comes true. What do you think about this? I think that this isn't quite accurate because everyone is unique, and we want to talk about intellectually driven desires and sensation-driven desires. And the more ready or less ready you are to see your wishes come true, the sooner or later this will happen. Desires are based either on happiness energy, so you get less happiness energy and you have more discontent, or the opposite. Desires mean an increase of your happiness energy. So the more of your desires come true, the more happiness and the more joy you get. For us, it's important not to treat desires as something primal, but to give primacy to the feeling, to the sensation we get when our wishes come true. So if we're planning an intellectually driven desire, I have decided to buy this watch, I've decided to buy this car, I want to buy this yacht, or I want to buy this book. And if this is purely intellectually driven, without feeling, without passion, without the joy we want to get from this, and if we don't have the past accomplishments that will help us drive this desire, this dream and this wish can come true if we reject it in time, if we switch from it, if we understand that we will get nothing. This will enter our lives. But first of all, we will not be able to use it and enjoy it, and this will not bring us the result we need. And any wish that comes true is the foundation for the next wish, because when we enjoy it, this creates our future wishes. And some people start wishing for very little because their desires are intellectually driven. They get these things, they get a shell of these desires, but it's free of content. So they get a watch, they get a yacht, they get a car, they don't enjoy it, they don't resonate with these things. It's like two different states. And then this car, this watch, or this yacht starts draining a person's life energy. And in this case, I wouldn't plan in terms of 7, 20, or 10 days. I would talk about a person's inner safety system. Because if we start wishing for everything, we get these things, but we need an energy base for this. That means we gotta accept things, we gotta be in a state of happiness and joy. And if we don't experience happiness and joy, the things we get in our field will start draining our energy. And since we'll be lacking energy, this will take a toll on our fate, take a toll on our health, take a toll on our worldview, and it will take a toll on our desire to progress. That's why, first of all, it's the sensation you get when wishing for things. Second of all, we don't know which scenario is best for us. That is why we express an intent like this. I want to have this. I imagine myself already having this, and the sensation I'm experiencing when I'm interacting with this new thing. And then you express your intent. If this doesn't benefit me, if this doesn't give me joy or happiness, this cannot happen. And this means that the processing of this desire will go way more smoothly. Okay? And the basis for desires coming true are your thoughts, your feelings, and your past actions. If in your life you think the way you feel, the way you act, if you think, do, you don't exaggerate things, you don't play things down, you switch on time, you're grateful for everything, you don't identify with anything, you don't boast, and you don't hold grudges, or if you do these things, you admit them, you accept them, and you don't feel guilt, this creates the foundation for your wishes coming true to the extent that you think about this now, and this happens immediately. The principle is very simple. It's about entering your program. There's no such thing as your desires. There are desires that are given to you by your program. And if your desires are intellectually driven, you're not resonating with your program. Even if your desire comes true, you will feel a dissonance. But if you start resonating with yourself, you admit your sensations, you act in accordance with your feelings, you think and speak in accordance with your feelings, and it's about 50-50. So the 50% think, 50% do, it's all constructive and creative. Then at a certain point, you stop making wishes. And everything that fate has in store for you comes true. And it turns out this is the best of the scenario that was possible. And you get it, and you resonate with this, you enjoy with this, and you interact with it, and there's no tension necessary. Because it's not about having too much or too little, it's about your attitude, too much or too little. And when we take it easy, then there's no challenge aspect. But if we experience joy or we're insecure, then we need to fine-tune our laws, get rid of our old laws, enter into new laws, and make this automatic. Because when we start thinking right, that's not important. It's important to think right automatically, unconsciously. So if you want your desires to come true, you need to introduce a lot of new things into your lives. Which means, brush your teeth with your left hand if you're used to using your right. Eat soup with your left hand if you're used to using your right. Open the door with the left hand if you've always opened it with your right. Hold your phone with your left hand if you're used to using it with your right. Put on your shoes left foot first. So you start doing things differently from the way you're used to doing things. And in this moment, you need to think about, because you get a lot of new things, and you start changing in the little things, automatically you get new things because it's all novel, but in a different sphere. And for God/for us, there's no such thing as too little or too much. There's no such thing as magic if we take things easy. Like Jesus said, if you say to a mountain to move from the ground to the sea and you don't hesitate, you don't think, why will this happen? If you're used to thinking this way, if your thinking is light, tranquil, and simple, if you know how to switch off, you'll get what you want. You can power through with sheer will, of course. You can get these things, but it will ruin your future. And when you enter the future, only ruin will remain. The shaping of desires is connected with new programs or habits. Is that correct? The things you should get, but you will only get it when you have excess energy. When people say, I don't know what my destiny is, I don't know where my talent lies, I don't have any interests, I don't have energy, I don't have power, I am lazy. This means there's too much past in you. The past attracts people that draw through negation, they attract bad habits, they create the conditions for a person to become inert, they start tuning in and they forget how to switch off, and this drags them into a quicksand, and then they don't have any passions, they don't have any desires, no aspirations, they don't have any talents. The second you free yourself from your limitations, the second you start challenging yourselves and creating discipline, think, do, say, implement, the second you start overcoming things like, yes, an alternating shower is good, but it's hot water, cold water, but you enjoy it. And if you also combine this with creative intent that is incongruent with the action you are making, for example, you drink tea, you fill yourself with love, you do dishes, you detox, you take out the trash, you get rid of your problems, you clean your house, you purify your karma, you clean your karma. When you're walking down the street, you become richer with every step. But if it's about actions and intents, so grounding on its own is the actualization of the things you've thought about, but we don't actualize your thoughts. And many people don't actualize their thoughts, the things they can do, say, act. Then we need the physical plane. If a person does too much sports, that means they're a brainiac. But if they're not a brainiac and they do sports too much, that means they're an idiot. They start getting dumber because they cancel out their future. They don't cancel out the past, but cancel out the future. And jocks, when you ask them, what do you need a head for? They say, that's where I eat. So intellectuals that think a lot, that don't actualize their thoughts, they have to do sports. People who think, act, say, implement, who don't exaggerate, who don't play things down, they don't really have to do sports that much. Morning exercises should be the end of it. Let's talk about the shaping of reality. How can a regular person shape their tomorrow, their month, their year? Are there any techniques? First of all, everything has already been shaped. It's like you're in school. The program is already there for you. The best thing you can do is follow the program, do your homework, and get straight A's. That is why the key technique that I give to people regarding the shaping of their future is to be honest with yourself, is to use positive words when speaking, words that give you positive emotions, to notice good things, notice things you might enjoy, to switch off, to think creatively. This means thinking about things the way we would want things to be, for the sky to be clear, for the roads to be smooth, for politicians to be honest, for everyone to be healthy, for streets to be full of Teslas, and for us not to suffer from the CO2 emitted by fossil fuel cars. When we think creatively about ourselves and about the world, let's say we come home and we're not like, there's a mountain of dishes I gotta do, I'm so tired of this, but no, I need to do the dishes. I want the dishes to be clean, I want to dry them. And that is why, when we start being honest, positive, we start noticing the good, we start thinking creatively, and we start acting accordingly, when we feel like a man or a woman, depending on what body you have, and when we know how to switch off, when we're grateful for everything, and when we're ready to die and ready to live 10,000 years. And we need to see Are we in a rush? See what emotions we experience. We need to state this fact, and whatever you do, never feel guilt. And when we've done all these things, we start becoming aware, we start getting insights, we understand how we want to act, and we feel like it's our decision. But no, actually, it's our program being manifest, the program we're in, but we start resonating with it, and we want this or this or this. We dream about this, we imagine this, but really it's not something we're imagining, it's being imagined for us. It's already in the program, and we just materialize this. What can you say about the transition from the third to the fourth dimension? I agree with the idea that now we're seeing the transition from 3D to 4D gain traction. What's a dimension? Something we measure with. We used to be measured with time, length, width, and height. And in general, right now, we're entering the time dimension. We start interacting more with time to keep up with the time. We're entering the fourth dimension, time, the high-frequency energy from the future. We call it love, but in order to process this love, when an event takes place, we measure the amount of love there, the amount of novel things and high-freq energy there, and we can understand this based on the level to which we accept it and based on the amount of kindness that is planted with the things we're interacting with. That will allow us to accept the future, love, and high-frequency vibrations. So when we co-tune ourselves with a wonder-working icon, or with a person who is a positive person, or with a person who is a wonder worker, we co-tune with their vibrations that are congruent with the present, that don't tend to move towards the past, or maybe they're a bit higher, maybe they're a step ahead of us, and they are further into the future. And then to balance them out, they need to co-tune with the people that are around them, and we start feeling better, we become successful, we self-actualize. But this person is processing our low-frequency vibrations, and this can lead to cancer, this can lead to issues in his life and in his fate, and it can lead to problematic situations, because this person should be emotionally independent from their clients, from their employees, or from the patients they're treating. And the easier they take things, will the patient recover or not, will there be results or not, this will allow them to change the entire world. But if a person cares about everyone, if they are compassionate, they will diminish their frequencies, and well, we've already entered onto a level of vibrations and we diminish them, this turns into colossal issues. When we interact with low-frequency people, we don't have a right to co-tune with them. We have a right to co-tune them with us. We need to drag them out of a hole. We can't jump into their hole. We can't break down and cry with them. We need to be in our good state with them. So this creates dissonance with them. So they start hating and rejecting us, and then finally resonating with us and transforming and becoming better. That's why when we have a backbone, when we understand how we want things to be done, we impose our software onto others, it pushes out old, low-frequency programs that people get rid of if we find ourselves in our good things, no matter what they do. But at this moment, the person starts de-identifying with these energies, they lose these energies, that's why they feel bad, they get headaches, they can faint, they start hating us, but they can't actually hate us. They are a deity, and a deity is unable to experience any emotions. They can only take the world easy and take it well. The entities that emotionate are those we don't allow to manifest. That's why pride, arrogance, resentment, anger, hate, pretentiousness are manifestations of entities in the format of laws that limit us and that manifest through us. And if we let them stay with us for too long, they will impact our lives. If they've done their thing and left, then we don't cling on to them, we work with new ones, and it's easy for us, we take it well. So, when we have a lot of old entities left over and we're working with new entities, we become aggressive, pretentious, and judgmental. Let's look at Steve Jobs as an example. Steve Jobs was in touch with the new and with new information, but in his day-to-day life, he clinged on to the old models. He didn't change throughout. This family wasn't as well off as it should have been. He didn't have the affection for his children he should have. His lifestyle wasn't perfect. He didn't develop and grow as rapidly as he did professionally in developing his tech. As a result of which he got stuck, the old entities started dragging him down, and there was an internal rift. And the rift led to emotions, emotions led to disease, and as a result, he died. His emotions should have been released in time or experienced them as feelings. To conclude our program, I'd like to ask, what information is relevant today? What should you focus on? What should you interact with and work with? I am going to start saying for everyone to hear that egregores rule the world. Religious egregores, egregores of scientific progress, state egregores, egregores of various vectors and interactions of many people. And they, among themselves, shape zones of influence, scientific progress, religion, community, societal, medical, there's a lot of them, political, state, and certain cliches have been created, models that are the building blocks, models that are the highways for life. And I believe that now we must create new egregores. You can shape a couple of them. For example, if you are listening to this interview, you have a chance to do this as well. I believe, and I've been saying this for many years, that all of us should understand why we are living. My concept is as follows. We all come into this world to travel a journey and die. We're all born and everyone dies. And what matters the most is the process we find ourselves in. And within this process, we should strive towards a state of wealth, happiness, health, youth, and longevity in a state of love. When we take this concept and we use it as our North Star, we start using this intention of getting wealth, happiness, health, youth, longevity in a state of love to live. And by doing this, we create a new egregore. That doesn't mean people interact with each other. People don't create communities or political parties, and this makes them self-sufficient. But on the energy plane, this works very powerfully, harmonizes all processes, improves the economy, improves the environment, and creates a softer, milder climate, more favorable political conditions, alleviates the conflicts that the previous egregores engendered in wars and natural disasters, and this gives us the opportunity to transition to the next level, where presidents care about their countries, where more people are healthier than sick, when we transition to new green technologies, when our medicine helps people recover instead of promoting pharma, and this will be made possible when you, I, each of us, just have the intent. I live to become rich. I don't think about wealth as money. Wealth is a system of permissions and a system of being nonchalant about all the possible scenarios from the future. Happiness is being emotionally independent from the events around you. Health is the ability to process a lot of energy. Youth is about being done with old programs and moving on to new programs. Longevity should allow us to head towards the new and create the possibilities for each of us to enjoy the new. And of course, love is a perpetual heightening of the vibrations by moving in time, by moving and into the future, we create the tendencies that harmonize everything else and alleviate conflict. Seeing as the concept I just outlined is subconsciously acceptable for everyone, and as the Bible says, love thy neighbor as thyself, that means you must first love yourself and then love someone else from an abundance of self-love. Or, as Seraphim of Sarov says, merit the blessing of God and thousands around you will be saved. The blessing you take will be given to others who resonate with you because you have too much of it. So the people like us who think creatively, who think constructively, whose life model revolves around wealth, happiness, health, youth, longevity, in love, we will change this world. If each of us lives our lives, if we think creatively, if we notice the good things around us, and if we stay men or women, depending on the body we have.